Mr. Ambassador, thank you for joining our show.
Great to see you. Selamat siang ya.
Yeah, selamat siang. Mr. Ambassador, let's talk about the trade. Let me talk about the investment first, because it's very interesting. Because at the first speech of the President Joko Widodo, like we heard a couple days ago, it's about the investment that it's going to be very convincing the market that his next target is about the investment, how to make the policies better for all of the investors. The Jokowi presidency has already launched more than 16 reform packages, and now President Jokowi talks again about the investment. Do you think this time it's going to be better in implementation to make the investors, to convince the investors that everything is fine, everything is far away from uncertainty in Indonesia?
Shortest answer is I hope so, and but I have confidence in seriousness on the part of the second Jokowi administration, because this is the last 5 years for President Jokowi. I'm sure he has every intention to implement what he has proposed, which is a great thing for us. I think his main idea is to reduce deregulations, bringing more freedom to the investment market, which is all the good news for investors, including Japanese. And the investment from Japan has been reasonably high. I think $5 billion US was last year's figure. We have been number 2 most of the time. And if I check the number, I think if we talk about the accumulation since 2010, I think Japanese investment, net investment to Indonesia has been $50 billion US, 50 billion US dollars, which is 30% of the whole investment to Indonesia. Only next to investment from ASEAN, which is natural to be number 1. And actually number 3 is EU, European Union. That is good, but number 3 is only 5%. So we are 30%. ASEAN is like a 55%. So I think we have played a major role in investment in Indonesia. And of course, once again, this is win-win. We don't invest without any interest. Yeah? We do need to get some profit. So I think Japanese companies has been staying here, and then they have brought new investment. I think some countries invest, but they withdraw. But in case of Japan, we invest. Sometimes we invest more if they succeed. And we have seen a lot of examples where additional investment has been made, which means I think Japanese companies are determined to stay. Japanese companies are making some profit, which is a good story for both of us.
Yeah. Mr. Ambassador, amid the uncertainty of the global market and some of expectations from the Japanese investors, and a lot of brands has already become the part of the way of life of people of Indonesia. And of course, it's Japanese investor expertise to joining in our market. When you met a lot of investors in Japan, what are the main barrier for trading? To invest in Indonesia?
Well, I think regulation, stability of regulation is very, very important for any company who has intention to invest. If the regulation changes without any hearing from companies, for example, and then if the interpretation of the newly introduced regulation is different from person to person, I don't think that is a good news for investors. I think sometimes we do experience those difference of interpretation among officials.
Official of the central official and
provincial official, central official, as well as among officials in the central government. And sometimes we just have a very sudden introduction of new regulation, which really has a big impact on the investor's mind. So I think stability transparency is always very important for the mind of investors. And but I think the Jokowi administration in the second term, I think in the first term they have been making a lot of efforts for improving the situation, which we really appreciate. And I'm sure in the second term, these efforts will continue and will become even more serious. So we have a high hope on that. And of course, once you start picking up problems, the problem is everywhere, not in Indonesia only, but in Japan too. Taxation can be sometimes a problem. There are few regulation, restriction on the investment from abroad. For example, it has to be huge scale, which makes the entry of medium to small size enterprises to the Indonesian market even almost impossible. So I think there are things you can change. There are things we can discuss together with the Indonesian government, and I'm sure we are pointing to the same direction. I think more investment is good for Indonesia and good for Japan. But having said all this, I do believe the export of natural resources from Indonesia to abroad, not only to Japan but to other countries, will be in decline. Because I think natural
including
resource,
coal.
Yeah, exactly. I think natural resource will be declining. So I think for the sake of the future growth of Indonesia as a country, you do need to put more emphasis on the export of manufacturing goods, like a car, where we can help. As I said, a lot of Japanese car manufacturers have invested in Indonesia, employing a lot of Indonesian people, manufacturing a lot of cars, and then they are using Indonesia as an export base. Well, it may not be to Japan, but to other countries, Southeast Asia, Philippines and others, and also Middle East, and then for future, more and more to Africa. So I think this is a strategy of Japanese car manufacturing companies, and this is also in line with the strategy of Indonesian government to increase export.
Okay, is there any specific project in terms of investment or trade in Indonesia that's going to be huge for both countries in like in the short term and long term?
It's been already huge, as I said. Yeah, but
bigger than huge.
I know what you mean. I think the one symbolic project which has just been announced is the development of natural gas field in the eastern part of Indonesia, Masala natural gas project, which will Masala, and which will. It's a long-term project. We will start the exploration. So it's like a more than 20 years kind of project. But altogether, it may mean investment of $20 billion for that single project. $20 billion over a long period of time. But I think this is very good news because this is new. This is additional, and then this is to make the best of the resource you have. And at the same time, this is to contribute to the development of eastern part of Indonesia, which is very, very important for the future of Indonesian development. Because I think the key for the future smooth development of Indonesia is to reduce the gap between rich and poor. At the same time, gap among the regions. Of course, if it's Jakarta, it's most developed. Per capita GDP is like $10,000, while the overall per capita GDP is still less than 4,000. So we do need to develop eastern part of Indonesia. I think that is one of the important policy objectives of the Jokowi administration as well, and we're happy to help.
So, is there any more projects besides Masala and automotive?
No, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Well, actually, each car manufacturing company has been considering some additional investment. I think some of them have already done that. And there are a few other companies implementing new investment. And without those, we cannot score the $5 billion US dollar investment every year. And I do hope the investment of this year will be more or less around that level. Although the investment amount varies from year to year, because it's based upon the timing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you so much.
very
Thank
good.
you for being with us on CNBC. Thanks
Thank you,
a lot.
Hera. Very good to see you. So keep in touch.
Yeah, of course, we have to.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.